name is John, and I'm the Esports and Partnerships Manager over here at MSI.
But yeah, John, so how'd you end up getting into your role?
Previously, before I worked at MSI, I was a team manager at NRG Esports, and one of my friends reached out at MSI, said they were looking, to fill this position, and so I kind of switched over to the other side of things to work on esports and partnerships.
Nice. So you said NRG. So what games were you associated with?
So when I was at NRG, I primarily helped with CSGO, I helped with Dragon Ball FighterZ, and I helped with our Clash Royale team at the time. Also helped with our Overwatch team, SF Shock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so quite a bit there.
Yeah, that's a lot. So exactly how did you interact with the esports team members?
So it depends for different teams, but for example, the Dragon Ball team, I was their direct manager, and so we had two players competing in the Capcom Dragon Ball circuit, and so I pretty much traveled with them to every event, set up, hotels, flights, made sure all of that was fine, went with them to the tournaments, just made sure they had everything, made sure they're okay, keep their mind, healthy, sharp on top of it all. So that's just like one side of things. For like CS and like Overwatch, there's just like more on the operational side. So just making sure the players have everything they need, with equipment, making sure all their housing is fine, making sure their living conditions are good, solid, practices, they're staying on top of practice regimens and all that. So there's just a bunch of things, and yeah.
So I gotta ask a little off subject here, but like, what did the practice regiments look like?
It's pretty intense. I mean, so like for the Overwatch team, they pretty much scrim for, I would say like a minimum of like 6 hours a day for practice. That's like mandatory, where they're competing against the other teams in the league, and getting practice on new strats, new heroes, things like that. And then pretty much after that, they have like a specific amount of hours they need to play, like solo queue or that type of thing, just to keep on top of it. So it's a lot of work. They're probably playing for like maybe like 12 hours a day or so, give or take.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what games does MSI represent?
So right now, MSI, we currently sponsor Method and Complexity. So the games we represent are pretty much the games that their players are competing in. So on the Method side, they're pretty much most known for World of Warcraft. That's pretty much their biggest IP that they're a part of. So that's a game that we're heavily involved in. We're heavily involved in pretty much every single raid race that that Method produces. On the Complexity side, they're involved with Fortnite, they're involved with CSGO, they're involved with Madden. So it's just like all the games that they're involved with, we're involved with by association.
Nice. So going into team questions here, like how do you go about recruiting for those teams?
So are you saying like recruiting for the esports organizations, or like
I guess that's twofold. So if MSI was looking for full teams or anything like that, how do you go about looking for it? Or your experience as a team manager, how'd you go about finding people?
Yeah, sure. So speaking from like the NRG side first, so a lot of it is just being on top of a game, right? So like as a gamer myself, I'm playing the newest titles when they come out. Like for example, I'll just take Apex Legends for example, because that's a really, really popular title. So when Apex first came out, pretty much everyone was playing it. It was the biggest craze, and so myself and other members of the management team, we're constantly playing the game. We're looking at the streams. We're seeing who's being mentioned on Twitter. We're checking all of this, and one name that was brought up was Dizzy, and so one of our other managers was super quick to reach out to Dizzy, scouted him, vetted him, and signed him. Same thing that happened with Asu, and so those are the two most popular and well-known Apex players. So that's kind of how you kind of scout and sign people on the esports side. You're just always staying on top of the titles. You're just always looking to see who's recommended, whose name's being mentioned, and then you just try to work out the sponsorship deal with them as fast as possible. Otherwise, they might get poached by another team. For MSI side, it's a little bit different, but obviously. One of the biggest things is like budget. So sponsoring an esports team is a really, really big investment. We're talking about high six figures, right? So one of the first things is you have to kind of look into the teams in which you have the money for, right? So if I'm given X amount of money, I'm not going to be able to sponsor C9 or TSM or Team Liquid or one of the super big dogs, right? I might have to sponsor a middle of the pack or maybe someone a little bit lower. So that's one of the things we have to look at first. Another thing we have to look at is if the teams right now have any other conflicting sponsorships. And so conflict of interest there is something that I'm always looking into. For example, MSI, we obviously compete with a lot of other hardware companies, such as Asus, such as Razer, Gigabyte, those type of things. And so if they're currently sponsoring a team, we probably are not able to go after those teams. We would probably have to wait until the contract is up. I'd probably reach out to their partnership manager or their general manager and say are you guys, planning on renewing with, Omen, with Lenovo, with these other companies? And if not, are we able to jump into conversation, open up some talks, see, if you guys are interested with working with MSI down the line?
Nice. So conflict of interest kind of thing would prevent it in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. So what about something, I guess I'll bring up Cooler Master or something that doesn't directly do exactly the same, but works alongside of the same kind of product. Would you still look at something like that?
Yeah, that's totally fine. There's a lot of companies that we work together with. So for example, Cooler Master is one. Other companies we work really closely with would be peripheral companies. And so MSI ourselves, we have a really good partnership with SteelSeries. We work a lot with Corsair. We work with HyperX. And so we're really kind of a pretty tight-knit community. Some of the teams they sponsor, we're able to sponsor as well. For example, Method is working with Corsair. We're working with Method. Complexity works with HyperX. We work with Complexity. And so pretty much as long as there's no direct conflict of interest with the same exact parts we're making, then, it's totally fine.
Nice. So on the esports side of things, so this question has come up a lot, and I didn't think about it until it was asked to me, but the diet, practice, regiment, and all that. And I know you talked about the actual practice stuff, but the actual diet and keeping their mind right, what's that look like?
So that depends. I think a lot of teams do it a little bit differently depending on budget. Some of the top teams that I know of will have a personal chef live in at the team houses, and they'll be cooking them three meals a day. They always make sure they're getting a healthy serving of the proteins, the vegetables, fruits, all that. Our teams, we did it a little different when I was at NRG. We didn't have a personal chef live in the house, but we had 3 meals catered a day. And so all these meals, we made sure these players were getting everything they needed. We had a couple different choices of protein every meal, so players can have their beef or their chicken or their fish. There's always the vegetable dish. There's multiple fruits, things like that. And so we're always encouraging players to just eat that as opposed to the junk food that they would be normally eating if they weren't in a team house. Because health is really important. A lot of people, I'm sure when you're sick or if you have a headache, you're not going to be playing on top of your game. And so that health is a really big thing that esports teams monitor.
And that's why I thought that was a huge thing to bring up. Like for us on the streaming side of it, we do long streams occasionally. I mean, we did a 100-hour stream where we rotated back and forth and everything.
Right.
And we really advocate for healthy gaming. We see a lot of people that are like, I can go 12 hours. I want to get into esports, but they don't think about that side of things of like just being healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely pretty underrated, but a lot goes behind the scenes to make sure all the players are healthy and performing as well as they could.
Yeah. So how often do these people actually compete?
It depends. I mean, it depends for the games that these players are playing in. Like for example, if we're talking about CS:GO, there's pretty much tournaments happening every other week, and so for CS:GO players, I remember there was like a section of time in which they literally would finish a tournament. Like there was an instance that I was a part of a while back last year where our players finished playing at ESL One New York, and literally 20 minutes after the grand finals, after the award ceremony, they hopped on a shuttle to go to a plane to go over to Europe to compete in another DreamHack. And so there's a lot of tournaments. They're always playing in online tournaments. They're always playing in LANs and in-person events. So like for CS itself, that game is just really heavy on the competition side. For different games, for different titles, it kind of depends. Like World of Warcraft, it kind of depends on like the raid schedule. So that's released, pretty much every couple months, and so they have a big competition once every couple months. Yeah, so it depends on the games. If there's like Twitch rivals or there's different things like that.
That sounds a lot like real sports. Like they're football players gone for Thanksgiving and
everything. Right. Yeah.
So, and I think that's something people need to hear too, because they don't think about that side of like you make sacrifice to do these kind of things.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of burnout. Like these players are actually putting in so much work behind the scenes to just be able to compete. Just those couple hours on screen that you might see, and if they don't make it out of pools, if they don't make it past the qualifying rounds, it's back to square one. They're going right back to practice.
Yeah,
so it takes pretty rough. Yeah,
special kind of passion to do that.
For sure.
So I know that quarantine's ended in a lot of places, but over the past few months, how did that affect what you guys were doing with everything going digital?
I think luckily for us, esports is just in a really good position right now because everything is digital. Sure, there's a lot of in-person events that are canceled, but for the most part, esports is still functioning perfectly fine digitally. Like Overwatch League is doing fine. LCS is doing fine for League. All these CS:GO tournaments are doing fine, and so yeah, that in-person element is definitely missing, but the show goes on. The schedule doesn't really stop, and everything's still moving along. Pretty well in the esports scene. It's like probably one of the industries that's most unaffected right now.
That's a good question. Since it's in here, we have a question in chat right now. So, do you think the burnout side of the business is why many players have chosen to leave competitive scene and take up streaming as their main focus?
Yeah, I'd say definitely so. I think there's two sides to it. One is definitely burnout, and the other is I would say like financially as well. Because if you're competing, like you have to be on top of it. You have to be winning, or else like you're not really that known, or you're not really getting that recognition, or you're not really getting that prize money that you're competing for. Streamers actually, like the very top end streamers, they actually do make ludicrous amounts of money. And so if a player is kind of able to set themselves up to be a top end streamer, they can set their own schedule. They can play games freely without the stress of competition, because as much as like these players like really don't like losing. Like no matter what, the bottom line is no one likes losing. They all put in a ton of effort, and like coming in second sucks. Not placing at all sucks even more. And so these players are super hard on themselves, and so some people are just not able to take it mentally if their team is not able to constantly place top 8 and things like that. And so a lot of them, if they do have a solid fan base, if they do have a regular streaming schedule, they're definitely gonna kind of fall back to streaming because it's a little bit easier, a little bit cushier financially, and just better for them mentally.
That's true. And I have seen a lot of those people step into coaching if they didn't go into streaming as well.
Yeah. Yeah, coaching is also another thing because I think a lot of players, they might not be the best mechanically, but their mind is really sharp. They have a lot of good strategies, and so they're a lot better suited for a coach.
Yep. So,
not trying to interrupt or anything, but Wink, are you still here? Wink?
Wink, tell me you're still here.
GWJ, I know he's mowing the lawn. Are you in the United States or Canada? That's the big question. Oh, congratulations, you just won the chair. GG. All right, sorry, continue, John and Vordy. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
I'm sorry. I'm finding my spot. This is a normal occurrence that she distracts me and I lose exactly where I was at.
All good, all good.
So you said it wasn't really affected too much in terms of the esports scene. I guess that was my biggest thing, is because the only real competition I've done since starting streaming was I was at Twitch Rivals at TwitchCon and things like that.
Right.
What I saw was the mainstream aspect of it. So that didn't really affect it with having the conventions canceled that were running some of these events?
I mean, it definitely changes some of the elements. I mean, one of the biggest thing about esports is the fact that it is a sport, right? And at sporting events, I think one of the biggest things that makes it interesting is crowds, or like crowd interaction, or kind of like cheering in person. And so not having that element, kind of sucks. But the fact that these games can be played digitally, like all the players, like I know, for example, in Overwatch League, a lot of the players aren't living in like team houses anymore. A lot of them are just playing individually back home, and they all come together to play these like matches. And so it doesn't really like inhibit them from playing their tournaments.
Now, have you noticed, this is a little off subject here, but have you noticed cheating becoming a problem with it being more digital?
I personally haven't noticed it. I think for the most part, I think most developers have it pretty locked down. Like there's a lot of cheating measures that are in place for the certain game titles. I mean, I know I don't keep too on top of it, but I know in like Fortnite, for example, there were some problems with cheating, I think recently, and so they might have to look into that a little bit more. I mean, I could see the issue because when you go into a tournament for competition, all of your equipment is like heavily checked. Just to give some insight, kind of behind the scenes, like for Overwatch, you're actually not allowed to like really bring your own equipment onto the stage. Like you kind of submit requests to the league, and then they will provide the equipment and they set it up on stage for you, and like so that way they make sure you're not installing like any special like drivers.
Well, I know even 5 years ago, people were putting a red dot on their actual monitor and everything.
Yeah.
And that's part of why those hardware things came up.
Yeah.
And I know, Call of Duty has taken some safeguards where they don't allow a lot of the cheese methods. So they'll only allow to use regular frag grenades and things like that. You can't use incendiary. So it just makes it so it's an actual competition.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could see the potential long term for an issue, but I think for the most part, players do have really solid integrity, and so I haven't personally seen any issues with that.
Good. So are the players allowed to enter exhibition matches and everything like that, or do they have to enter sanctioned tournaments that you guys approve?
It depends on the league. A lot of leagues are really strict with the players that are competing within them. A lot of them have to sign very crazy contracts to just compete in the league, and so I don't know the specifics off the top of my head, but I just know for sure that there are some leagues out there that will not allow exhibition tournaments or like players competing in non-professional like matches, so to speak. A lot of them will have to get approval from the parent company in order to do that. So like for example, I'm not sure if this is the case, but like if a player in the LCS wants to like compete in something else, or wants to do something on the side, they would have to ask like Riot for permission.
Okay, so that is really putting pressure to perform on leagues like that, because they're not allowed to do anything outside of it. So I guess my follow-up to that then would be, are they generally signed as their pseudonym or as their actual name? So that could they create another account at that point?
I never really thought of it that way, but I would assume they're signed by their name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just know some of the leagues for Rocket League actually do sign up by your actual player name. So like
Gotcha.
It's digital rights only. So you could play on a separate account still.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know that.
So let me just see. Does anyone in chat actually have any questions related to team or anything like that? Esports that we've been talking about?
Thank you very much for that, Tim. We really appreciate your support for helping to keep this meetup running smoothly. And for all the follows, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, we'll move into the business questions here. So what products are you most excited about coming out from MSI?
From MSI, I mean, I'm really excited just about our 10th gen products that are coming out. We recently just released our 10th gen laptops with Intel. And so, you know, brand new chips. And so we're currently working on the desktop side of things, and that should be coming out pretty shortly as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we did have a couple questions come up.
Sure.
We got a good one for you to really think about here.
Okay.
Do you remember any of the players that got away?
Players that got away? Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, this wasn't for me personally, but I'll speak about my mentor. Essentially, the person that was working at MSI that it was in the position that I was in. He had a opportunity to sign Pokimane at a very, very, very low cost, like absurdly low cost when she was starting out. But he wasn't too sure of how she would grow or become, and so he passed on that. But she was I believe MSI was the first company that she was in talks to like a couple years back.
Oh, wow.
And so he calls that, his biggest professional fail, because obviously everyone knows how big Pokimane is now, and we would have to probably be paying 100x of what that initial offer was.
That's like standing in the backyard kicking dirt kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I personally haven't had any of those yet, fortunately. So hopefully that doesn't happen to me. But I've definitely heard.
I mean, I think it's bound to happen in the industry. So
yeah. I mean, there's always going to be someone that comes up, in the future that that hopefully you don't miss.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So, what made you decide to get into esports in the first place?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I'm pretty sure like most people, I've been gaming my whole life, and so I started with like the Game Boys, and I went onto PC, and I've just been playing games. It's my biggest hobby. It's what I do on most of my free time. And so as a job, as an adult, I want to do something that I'm passionate about. I want to do something that I wouldn't hate going to the office every single day. And so for me, esports is definitely that thing. Everything I do is very relatable. I'm really interested in it. I've been in the industry for a couple years now, and I myself aren't burnt out. I enjoy meeting fans. I enjoy interacting with teams, with players, with different companies. I really enjoy the traveling and the event aspect of it. And so, there's just nothing I can really complain about for my job right now, to be honest.
Hey, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I actually have a question for you,
Sure.
John. Somebody had asked, where's it? It was from Garby. Yes.
Okay.
What kind of data is collected to help players improve their performance? And is there any special team building exercises outside of the tons of practice that they do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll speak to kind of my experience when I was working with SF Shock for Overwatch. And so I think for us, what made us so successful when I was part of the team was just how close everyone was. The team pretty much did everything together. In our house, we were fortunate enough to have a movie theater in our team house, and so we always had like movie nights. We played like Smash and like Melee, and like we played all these games like outside of practice. We got all of our food together. We went out to like go shopping together. Like every activity we did, like we pretty much did together as a team. And so I think that really helps with the bonding that keeps your like everyone's like mental strong. Because I think one of the problems that a lot of teams have is that players are a little bit afraid to speak out, or they're afraid to criticize other players because of the backlash. Like, I mean, I'm sure everyone plays games a little bit differently. Some people might think that their play is the most optimal or something like that, but they might be afraid to speak their mind because they don't want to cause tension or rift in the team. But I mean, if you guys are like really close buddies, you wouldn't be afraid to say stuff, because you guys are gonna say, like, laugh it off or just brush it off. Like I insult my friends all the time. They insult me back and forth. That's just kind of like the gaming life. But the next day we're totally fine. And so like if teams are able to be that close, they're able to kind of speak honestly. And I think that really helps. Like for Shock, everyone was just so close with one another. We're able to talk honestly about all the issues, about what we think we could be doing better. And so that's just one thing that just really helped our team do better. And in terms of like statistics, yeah, a lot of teams invest heavily on like statistics or like match analysis. We had like 4 remote analysts at the time that were just watching all of our replays for every single player, and just like pretty much watching each of their matches like specifically just to see what they could be doing better at certain points of time. And so there's a lot that I probably won't go into, because that's just like probably like SF Shock secrets of why they're so successful. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stats that we look at. There's a lot of numbers involved in esports, and there's a lot of things that we keep track of that a lot of people probably don't think that we do.
That's a great point, though, and that's good for any walk of life. There is being able to operationally look at things and also be critical and take criticism at the same time.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm scrolling through chat here. Oh, that's a good one. Without naming names, how often does team conflict play a factor? And has it ever caused a player to leave a team or break what MSI has with them?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is, I think most of the esports professionals are, I would say, like under 24. Some are even younger. I would say like the age for like an esports athlete is like, the average age is anywhere from like 16 to like 22 or 23, something like that. And so a lot of these kids are super young. They're honestly not that mature yet. This is like their first real job, and a lot of people don't really take it as like a first job. And so they might goof around, they might slack off, they might not put in their 100% when other players are putting in their 100%. And so like there is conflict, of course, at times. There's always little issues behind the scenes, but obviously it's the job of like team managers like me or the coaches or the other staff to kind of resolve these issues as fast as possible. Because like, yeah, the team is essentially their parental figures at that point.
That's fair. So we'll get back on it. We'll answer more questions in a bit. And chat, I do apologize if I missed anyone's questions. We'll have a little open Q&A at the end as well, if you guys want to repeat any of them. And they're telling me I'm too old to join the team.
It's never too late. It's never too late. I dream about it sometimes too.
My reaction time is waning. Let's be real. So what's in store for the future of MSI?
I mean, for MSI, obviously, we're always hoping to kind of keep our role in esports. MSI has been around for such a long time, at kind of like the forefront of esports. At the start of LCS, we sponsored pretty big teams such as Fnatic and Cloud9. We've worked with a ton of different teams throughout the years, and I think MSI has honestly done a lot through the esports history. Like as of now, like we're partners with ESL. We work with a lot of different organizations around the world. And so for us and for me, my biggest role is to just keep MSI kind of at like the forefront of esports if possible. And so that's just for us is just to get involved with whatever we can, help out whatever leagues we can, help out whatever organizations we can. One of the things that MSI is doing, kind of focusing really heavily on in 2020 and 2021, is high school and collegiate. And so we're pretty much, focusing on the esports for the future, like all the future esports athletes, and we kind of want to just help grow that field and kind of help grow the future players. And so we partner with like leagues such as High School Esports League, NACE. We work with a lot of different colleges around California because that's where MSI is based out of. And so we sponsor them, go to a lot of like in-person events and things like that.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know outside of like the esports scene, we were talking about this meetup alone. You guys have sponsored us with some giveaways, and I've seen you guys do things like this as well. That's actually how I ended up contacting, was because of the Chicago meetup, and met some of the people there.
Right.
And everyone I've encountered at MSI has been great, so that's why we went forward with it.
Yeah.
But what other things do you guys do on that level?
I mean, so yeah, we just pretty much, like I said, just try to do everything we can. And so we get a lot of like sponsorship requests from, from different organizations, like, and, like my colleague Jordan, like introduced me to you guys, and he was helping you guys along the way. And so like, if we have the ability to help, we're definitely open to it. I think MSI just wants to help wherever we can, honestly speaking.
Hey, that's fair. Oh yeah, this is one that was personally asked to me that I wanted to push on. What's the chance that MSI will release something along the lines of a competitive controller or other esports related items with the next gen consoles dropping?
So I mean, MSI, to be honest, doesn't really focus on peripherals just yet. We do offer a line of peripherals, but honestly speaking, it's kind of like in the infancy stages. Like compared to like all these other companies that have just been in the scene for so long and kind of perfected peripherals, we know that we're kind of, right, like under them. And so that's not like our biggest focus. Our biggest focus is definitely what we've been good at throughout the years, which is just like motherboards, graphic cards, laptops, and that sort of thing. We do obviously offer controllers, but I wouldn't say that's like anything that we would probably be making in the future. We do have one new member that did join the team on the peripheral side though, and he is a really big like fighting game player, and so he really likes console and like likes fighting games, and so like he might be trying to do something along the lines, but no no guarantees for that.
That's fair. Now, before we get into personal questions here, we did have something asked here. Do you guys work with individual content creators or only companies? I know there was some mention of a few, but
yeah, we work with individual content creators, and so MSI actually itself, we have like we have a couple streamers under our umbrella, and so yeah, they're individual content creators. We work with them. One of them is called Detroit Games. He streams on Twitch. Another one is Nukem Dukem, and we also have another one called Uncaged Games. And those latter two are Facebook streamers. But yeah, all three of them are just individuals. We've worked with them throughout the years. They kind of just reached out to us, and we kind of work something out. But yeah, we're always open for individual content creators to work with. We also have like a kind of what's called like a Dragon Ambassador program, and so that's like an initiative that we have for our HQ in Taiwan. They kind of have like select members of the community that they pick to like have be essentially brand ambassadors for MSI, and so these are just random individuals as well, but through kind of through conversation, like they realized there was something that they could potentially be working on together. But yeah, I mean, I would just say don't be afraid to ask for opportunities. Whenever I go to events, I pretty much spend all my time just talking to interested parties. Like for example, when I was at PAX East most recently before coronavirus, I had like a ton of people just come up to me, ask me like, is MSI sponsoring, or like I'm a content creator, like are we able to do anything here? And so I, have conversations with them, and if I am able to work something out with them, I will.
So I'll ask this little follow up to that, just for any content creators that are in here. What's that one thing that puts people on top of a stack? Because you get thousands of people at PAX, you get thousands of people that come up and talk about sponsorships with you guys. What's the one thing that sets people apart?
The one thing that sets people apart, I would say, is definitely passion for the product. I think it's so easy to, or I wouldn't say it's easy, but it definitely is easier to get a sponsorship with a company that you actually like. For example, I've talked to hundreds of people, and I can tell when they are a genuine MSI fan or a genuine MSI user, right? Like, I can tell if they're kind of familiar with our products, or they really do enjoy our products, and that really puts them on top, because the bottom line is, like, when we're doing a sponsorship, we're giving you product or we're giving you money, but in return we're hoping for you to help promote us as a brand, right? And so if you are a genuine fan of MSI, you're able to promote us more genuinely, right? More organically. The stuff you say is going to come off more natural. It's not going to be forced. You're probably going to have more knowledge about what you're talking about. Like, for example, to be honest, one of my interactions at PAX, most recently, someone came up to me and said, I'm a big lifelong MSI fan. I have this laptop at home, and he name dropped a Asus laptop. So I was just like, all right, so I was just like, I know you're here just trying to get a sponsorship, right? So it's like, I would just say, like, be serious about it. Like, if that guy, he probably would have gotten an Asus sponsorship if he actually tried, because he uses Asus, right? So it's like, just be honest with yourself. Don't try to get a sponsorship for the sake of getting a sponsorship. I think content creators should really be selective with who they're trying to work with, because it just makes them come across better. Because, for example, esports is a pretty small scene. Content creation and content creators are relatively well known in the scene, and names are kind of passed around. And so, for example, if like a company like Asus, right, if they sign someone and we see that the content they're putting out isn't great, we're not going to take that chance to sign them once that contract is up, right? So it's like, we want to kind of see, all the companies, essentially, we're all competitors, but we all follow each other, obviously. And so we're always seeing, like, what the content creators for the other brands are putting out. And so we're always trying to keep on top of that. And so it's like, yeah, we'll know if you're putting out good content, or if your content's like forced, or if it's fake. And so just be genuine with that.
That's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm scanning to see if we have any other questions.
All good.
Uh-oh. Dog came running out. Yep, daytime thing right there. And he's a loud coonhound, so he goes crazy. So we'll go on to personal questions here.
Sure.
What's your biggest personal success working at MSI?
I would say my biggest personal success would just be, planning a successful event. And so, there's like a lot that goes on behind the scenes to planning a successful event. For example, like, if you guys go to conventions and you see, like a booth, like for MSI or for whoever, it might look like pretty once you get there. It might look cool, but just know, hundreds of hours put into that booth. There was a lot behind the scenes that goes behind there to get all the equipment running, to get everything laid out, all the groundwork, to get all the documents ready, just to get that space in that convention, to get all the equipment there. Like, for example, for PAX, just to give a little bit of insight, like, let's say, I don't know the exact date, but let's just say the convention opened up Friday. We're there setting up like on Monday, right? We're getting all that ready. We're putting in like more than 12 hours a day just to make our booth. We're building that out from scratch. So there's a lot that kind of goes into making a successful event. And then, the event only runs for 3 days, and then we have to, at the end of the day, everyone goes home and they kind of like fly back or whatever, and then we're there at the convention still breaking down, and we're getting all of that packed and sent back. So yeah, one of my biggest successes is just making MSI work and like building out a successful booth. This past year, I've worked on a couple big projects. PAX was one of them. BlizzCon was another. For me, I would probably say BlizzCon would be my biggest success because I myself have been like a lifelong Blizzard fan. I've been to so many BlizzCons myself as a spectator, and this year I went as a sponsor. And so being able to say that is just like so cool, because if I told myself like 10 years ago, hey, one day you would be working these booths, or you would be powering BlizzCon, I would have never thought that would be possible. So that's pretty cool for me.
So I gotta ask, were you a WoW player then?
Yeah, I was a WoW player. Still am. I come back every expansion. WoW's probably been the first game I ever played, and I always joke to my friends because if I was born like 10 years later, I'd probably be a professional WoW player, because I actually competed in BlizzCon 2008 as a player. I was playing Arena pretty competitively at a high level, and so that's where I got started. So I actually competed in BlizzCon 2008, or was it 2007? Just one of them. But yeah, WoW's always been like my go-to game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I played WoW from release all the way up till Cataclysm.
Mm-hmm.
Tried coming back. I'm like, I just couldn't devote the time. I think I had 437 days logged in.
Yeah. It's a giant time sink. It's so grindy.
Yeah, and that was before I knew really about streaming or anything. So when I came in the streaming scene, actually there was one person that I specifically remember finding on Twitch, and that was Swifty.
Oh, okay.
He was huge in the WoW scene, and I was like, I remember world PvPing against this guy on a regular basis.
Yeah. He's one of the old guard for WoW.
Yep. So, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Favorite food would probably have to be Japanese food. I really like sashimi and sushi, so that's just something that I really like. Probably with Korean food coming at a close second. I eat Korean barbecue way too much, but yeah, there's like a lot. Luckily, I'm in LA, and there's just so much good food around us, and so I usually go out, eat food all the time. I'm luckily able to be doing that.
So you do a lot of spicy food then as well?
Yeah. Kind of have a pretty good spice tolerance, I'd say. Kind of like growing up in like an Asian household, there's a lot of spicy food. So like my parents really enjoy eating spicy food. So I've kind of gained that tolerance growing up.
Nice.
Yeah.
And now everyone in chat is hungry.
Yeah, probably gonna get some lunch after this too.
Oh yeah. So what games are you playing currently?
Currently, I mean, I play quite a bit of games. It's just whatever my friends want to be playing. But right now, I think the biggest games, or the games I'm currently playing, would be Valorant, CS:GO. I play League still. I play Monster Hunter. And another game I kind of started recently is Escape from Tarkov. A couple of my friends got me into that game, so I started that as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you've been playing since the wipe on Tarkov, I take it?
Yeah. Well, I actually started like last week, so I'm a little bit behind.
Okay.
But not too far. But yeah. So
nice. It's a different feel to the game.
It's a very punishing game. I was not enjoying it for the first week.
A lot of vets in the community are saying it actually triggers them a little bit, gets their heart racing and everything. So
yeah, it's brutal. It's so punishing. Like just losing everything. It's just like, oh man, yeah.
I think it's great for the gaming world. I've actually talked about that a lot. That games have needed something of that complexity and difficulty because it's become very just straight competitive, respawn, go. That we need something a little different. So it's a good feel. Tarkov did very well with it.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I've always thought the game was interesting when I was like watching, like Shroud play it or like Pastilli play it, but yeah, actually playing it yourself, it's totally different. Like the levels of frustration you get is insane, but the happiness that you get also after you like kill someone and you get like the really good gear and you're able to extract safely, like it's unmatched. So high highs, very 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 low lows, but it's a fun game.
Right.
Yeah.
So what operators are you using in Valorant?
In Valorant, I play pretty much everything. I play whatever my team needs. So I'm pretty flexible. I play a lot of Brimstone, just because coming from like a CS background, it's just his like utility he provides to the team is just so easy to use, and it's just so good for attacking and defense. So he's probably one of my most used. I do play Cypher, I play Raze. I pretty much play everything though, but those are my three main.
Nice. What do you think of the newest one? I forget what her name is.
Reyna.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Reyna is very polarizing. It's like, I mean, I have a friend that works on the Valorant team, so I understand why they kind of put her in, and so I kind of share the same sentiments that he does. But I mean, Reyna is obviously like the biggest feast or famine character in the game. Like, she's actually useless if you're not getting kills. But if you are getting kills, you're gonna be carrying your team. And so I think like a super high risk reward type character like that does pay off. I can see the problems that she will cause in the future with like if you're smurfing, like someone's just gonna pick Reyna and just like, if they're doing like a bronze to challenger type thing and they're just picking Reyna and destroying people, it's definitely not gonna be fun. But I think for now she's relatively balanced. She has a lot of weaknesses. She has a lot of strengths. In competitive play, she's actually not used too much just because of how kind of, I guess, underpowered she is defensive side. Yeah, so I think she fits. There's going to be certain people that love her kit. There's going to be certain people that don't. I think if you have really insane raw aim, like if you're like an ace, if you're like a tens, if you're a brax, like that's your character. But for the general public that struggles to shoot, you should not be picking Reyna.
Yeah, I've heard a mixed bag of reviews. So
Yeah.
So the other thing that I've seen a lot about Valorant, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, is what do you feel about the peeker's advantage that's been really discussed a lot? And I know that that's been a big issue from a lot of the community playing it.
I mean, Peeker's advantage, I don't really have a problem with it because coming from the CS side, you always have a Peeker's advantage as well, and so that's just kind of a thing that's always been around for like tactical FPS. It's just kind of there, and so I don't really have a big problem with it. I think for the most part, I like the state Valorant's in right now. Most of my problems with it were with the kind of the gun recoil and like the shooting when you're walking and like when you're running especially, but they addressed most of those problems. I think the last thing that I guess I only have a problem with in Valorant is just the randomness of the spray, because like coming from CS, every gun has a very finite spray pattern, and if you practice it for hours on end, you will know how to control recoil perfectly. But for Valorant, after a certain amount of bullets, it goes completely random left to right, and so if you're missing your first X amount of bullets, it's pretty much a spray fest of RNG, and so I don't really like that. But for otherwise, I think it's fine. I think I understand what Riot's trying to do because they're trying to make this game more playable for the general public as opposed to CS. It's less punishing. If you're bad, you're still gonna have fun at Valorant, but if you're bad at CS, you're probably not gonna have fun. So
yeah, I was just asking about Peeker's advantage because I know that Valorant, the Riot team, had released that they were trying to fix that issue anyway versus CS. So
yeah. I think they're in good hands. I think the issue should be resolved. Most of the updates for Valorant have been put in relatively, fast, and so
yeah, they've been doing very well with the game.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see. Does Chad have any other questions for John? We've kept him here for almost an hour, so I do say thank you seriously for hanging out with us and talking about all this. Can definitely tell you've got passion for what you do, so that's amazing.
Yeah, happy to help and happy to answer any questions. It's not every day where they get a chance to ask some questions like that.
Horde or Alliance?
Horde or Alliance? Alliance.
All right, I'm gonna have to end this call right now.
But I will say this. Here's maybe my saving grace. When I was playing PvP competitively, I did play Horde because they had better racials. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was troll priest for most of it.
Yeah. I played Hunter, and so Orc was
Oh yeah.
definitely the better class to play as opposed to Alliance characters.
Oh, we got one here. Are there any up and coming streamers that you've noticed that may be worth checking out, in your own opinion?
Up and coming streamers?
Or competitive players?
Border Coastline 75.
Yeah, that guy is pretty cool. No, but I mean, I don't really have any like up and coming streamers that I really look or like. I mean, I pretty much just like watch everything. I just like gorge content on Twitch. I'm pretty much just like on Twitch 24/7 because not only is it my job, but I think it's enjoyable, and so I'm just kind of watching everything. I don't think there is a particular influencer or like a streamer that has stood out. The only one that I will say that has kind of got me interested recently is Sushi Dragon. So he's like he's kind of under a little bit of like flack because of like he was brought on to LCS and he wasn't that like professional and whatnot. But him as a content creator, he does like super wacky like green screen type like crazy corny cringy like effects, and so it's just like perfect comedic relief when I need it on demand. And so
Nice.
that's kind of someone I've been looking into recently.
So, if you're on Twitch that much, do you stream yourself as well?
No, I don't stream. I did a long time ago when I was playing WoW, but I was streaming during the Owned/Justin days, and so I haven't streamed since it went onto Twitch. I don't really have too much time to stream. The only time I really do stream is when I'm in the office. MSI has like a casual Friday stream in which the members of like the marketing team just hop on and play whatever game. And so before this whole thing happened where everyone's staying at home, I did stream like every Friday. But other than that, it's no stream for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, what else do we have here? Oh, favorite board game.
Favorite board game. I actually have a lot of favorite board games because I play board games quite a bit. But I mean, I'll say this. I think my favorite board game is probably Munchkins, because
Good choice.
it's like a game where it's like you can play it very differently with different people. Like for example, the way I played with my friends, like no one's even getting past the first round because we're all threatening each other. We're all like saying like, you better help me, give me all your treasure, or like this is gonna happen. It's like super threatening. Like friendships are ruined over that game, but it's great. And then you can have other games where it's like really passive, everyone's helping each other, and then like one person just betrays everyone. So it's just really funny. I think it's like pretty versatile.
So I think you won over the other side of the chat, because I know we've got some people that aren't involved with esports that are in here, and I know like we had press badges to Origins, doing a lot of tabletop stuff. So just mentioning Munchkin, I know that you got the attention of quite a few people with that one.
yeah.
So well played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else? I think we'll let him.
There was one other question.
Oh,
yeah, sure.
What do you think of PUBG Mobile or esports in the mobile gaming?
I mean, I think that's just like another form of esports, and I personally think it's good because it appeases to a certain different audience. Like when I was with NRG, one of the games that I managed was Clash Royale, and that's a mobile game. And so I think there's some things that do have to be fixed to make it a little bit better. Like for example, I'll just say flat out, I think tournaments for mobile games are kind of bad. They're a little bit cringy because then like I've seen PUBG mobile tournaments and I've seen Clash Royale tournaments, and you have this like grand stage and you have two players just on the podium. They're just looking down on their phones, right? It's like it's a little awkward. But if they can fix that, if they can make that cooler somehow, I think it's fine. But I think it's pretty interesting that like some people are just like super good at mobile games. Like for PUBG Mobile, like I'm not that coordinated with my thumbs and stuff. Like I'm not able to play that game, so it's
stumps and sausage fingers. So
right. Yeah, some people aim better on PUBG Mobile than I do on with a mouse and keyboard. So, dude, like, hats off to you. So I guess like there's always gonna be different forms of competition, and as long as there's an audience for it, I think it's good. I think it's healthy.
Right. I think we've hit all the questions here, and won't keep you any longer because it's been a full hour here. So,
all right, sounds good.
Jon, seriously, thank you. Absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah, anytime.
Really appreciate having you here. Oh, dog is excited too.
Dog is happy too. Yes.
Crazy.
No worries.
Jon, absolutely thank you. Appreciate you being here. Everyone in chat is saying thank you as well.
Of course, yep.
And have a great day. I'll follow up with you after we end as well.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
We'll see you later.
Bye.